First things first, congratulations to Izzy, who won the middleweight, who kind of kept his belt, against Paulo Costa over the weekend. And big up everyone too that joined in on the show. I did a watch along live stream. I'll be doing a few more of those. I did it on StreamYard, which I'm not really a big fan of. I'm gonna just stick to doing it on OBS. I guess StreamYard works better because you get the chance to sort of like get the messages pop up on your screen, right, via live chat, which is quite cool, so you don't have to kind of go through it on the actual app itself. And the app itself is a bit clunky online. I don't like how it shares screens, but I'm going to start using OBS and just start streaming regularly, and I guess having my phone to the side and then answering questions that way, or just having this the chatbot sort of loaded up on my laptop screen. I'm sure I can find another workaround to sort of make that work. But big up everyone that joined in via the watch along stream. That was really fun. Might do a few more of those for football as well, maybe coming forward. But yeah, what a dominant performance from Izzy, man. Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa, the main event on a two main card fight night card. I think the co-main event was Dominic Reyes v Jan Blachowski. A bit of an upset in that one, because I guess most people coming into that fight just assumed Dominic Reyes would win based on his performance against John Jones, where a lot of people believe that he might have won that on split decision, or at least at the worst it could have been a draw. And I think unfortunately Dominic Reyes always also bought into that hype and thought that he could come into the ring not nonchalant, but he thought it would be enough just turning up, throwing a couple of hands, and he could basically put away Jan Blachowski. But of course, as has been proven over the years with UFC, no fight is a foregone conclusion. All fighters are dangerous. The UFC, as stingy as they can be with the pay, they're very, very good with the matchmaking. For the most part, you quickly realize who is good, who is basically a title contender and who isn't, because they get matched up with each other very quickly. So if Jan Blachowski is getting matched up with Dominic Reyes, there is obviously the opportunity that he can knock him out too and stop him. And as he did in that fight, he picks him apart with kicks and punches. Probably, I'd say, a little bit similar to the approach that Israel Adesanya took with Paulo Costa. Of course, Dominic Reyes isn't as forward pressing as a Paulo Costa, but it was the similar sort of fight. Jan basically kept Dominic Reyes at his basically length. Basically did away with him as he pleased and sort of turned up the pressure towards the second round and basically fulfilled his promise where he said he was going to put him away in the second round. And it's impressive because he's 37, 38 years old. You probably think that might be his last hurrah in terms of actually winning a championship. You look at people like Chael Sonnen, who people really rate and is into the UFC Hall of Fame. He got close actually, but he never actually won a title. So you know how difficult it is to actually win a championship belt, no matter who you're facing, no matter the state of the competition. Winning a belt is very, very difficult, especially in UFC where you're constantly getting matched up against some of the best fighters within your division, every fight night or every card, right? So it's always a bit of a dogfight in that regard. So for Jan to finally win it, especially against somebody like a Dominic Reyes who's coming off such an impressive performance against John Jones, must do himself a world of confidence. You obviously saw the change in his face when he was celebrating. He kind of let out that kind of animalistic scream, and then quite quickly he sobered up and started realizing like the magnitude of what he's just done. Like he actually won the belt. That was pretty cool to see him just kind of recollecting his thought, like being like, wow, man, I've actually done it. I've done it. I've won it. That was cool to see. And of course, he got a hero's welcome going back to Poland. There's a really cool video of him arriving at the airport and all the fans sort of chanting his name in a very Polish sort of way, right? Instead of kind of mobbing him like he would have done in maybe, if he was English or something, they sort of like run up to him and just stand, about 5 meters away and just start shouting his name in a really rhythmic sort of like monotone way. It's flipping awesome actually to see that. And of course, the main fight, Izzy versus Paulo Costa. Now, I think, like a lot of people, I just assumed Izzy would win, right? But I also kind of thought to myself, you know what? UFC's mad, isn't it? I wouldn't be surprised if Paulo Costa just comes out, catches Izzy with something, or Izzy gets injured, or something happens and along the line, and you're tuning in, you're seeing Paulo Costa grinding and pounding Israel Adesanya, right? That wouldn't surprise me if that did happen too. But looking at some of the fights that Paulo Costa's had, looking at his lack of real testing, looking at the lack of competition he's had in terms of actual ranked fighters, it did make me think that maybe, especially last side, when as the fight was drawing closer, maybe Paulo Costa had been rushed a little bit, his opportunity, right? He'd been rushed through the ranks a little bit too soon, and he probably got his title defense or title chance or shot at the title a little bit too soon in his career, because the fighters he's fought, compared to what Izzy has had to go through to win the belt, they don't even compare. It's not even close. And then of course you take into account his style, where he's pressing and he's always on the front foot, and you take into account Izzy being somebody that's a bit longer, who kind of fights on the back foot, who fights on the counter. It was a match made in heaven for Izzy and a match made in hell for Paulo Costa, and it did sort of transpire that way. I think if anything, Paulo Costa came into that fight having a lot more respect for Izzy than he kind of let on. He didn't sort of like try and walk him down. He didn't try his bully tactics in the ring. He did at some points try to goad Izzy into like an exchange in the middle of the octagon, like saying, yeah, you come here, you come here. But of course, Izzy's too smart for that. He's too experienced, too long in the tooth to sort of like succumb to that kind of peer pressury machismo thing that can that lull you into kind of like questioning your manhood, right? You question your manhood, and then you kind of get lulled into a dogfight, and then and that person's, of course, like Paulo Costa, he's suited to a dogfight, so that's what he wants. So I'm glad Izzy kind of resisted that urge. But apart from that, we didn't really see much from Paulo Costa. Now, that could be because Izzy shut him down completely, but I do think the unexplainables, like Izzy's feints, Izzy's jab, Izzy's ability to sort of like essentially fight from range, really did confuse Paulo Costa. And he had no answer. He didn't know how to get close to him, because you try and get close to Izzy, and as he says, he's got precision. He might not have power, but he's got precision. And if he's got precision, as soon as you get close to him, he's going to be uppercutting you, elbowing you, right hook, left hook, kicking you, kneeing you, right, and then moving out of the way and back out into the center of the ring, center of the octagon, commanding it once again. So that's why he's a real pleasure to watch in that regard, because he has a very conventional Thai kickboxing style, but also a very conventional sort of like what do they call it? Is it karate go? What's that thing called? Kick karate, the one that that Stephen Thompson does. He has that kind of stance too, where he's always kind of bouncing on his feet, hands down, can throw from loads of weird angles, regular stance, southpaw, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Ambidextrous in that way too. Just a really, really, really clever fighter, and somebody who kind of is also very resistant to the takedowns, right? That's one thing I thought what might happen. I thought maybe Paulo Costa, because supposedly this guy has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. Now, from what I've learned online, again, I'm a casual fan, but from what I learned, black belts aren't just black belts everywhere. Black belts sort of like sort of have a gradient in their relevancy, or gradient in their kind of authenticity, based on basically the school that person's going to, who they're basically being taught under, and of course the fighter, right? Because sometimes if you're like, I don't know, if you're Zac Efron, you could probably get a blue belt quicker than some people can, because you're Zac Efron, right? They might kind of just speed you through some of the ranks just for the look and to get you on social media and shit. I don't know, and just in general, just maybe as a favor. So not all black belts are made the same. So I kind of thought that was the case, because there's no way that Paulo Costa would have black belt jiu-jitsu knowledge in his back pocket. This is his entire UFC career and not use it once. I don't think he even used it in the Contender series that he did when he was in Brazil. He didn't. I'm pretty sure he might have done a couple of underhooks against the cage against somebody, but no real like actual jiu-jitsu that I can actually think of. Did he choke somebody out though? Or am I mistaken? He did, didn't he, right? Did he rear naked choke someone? I think I've got in my head him rear naked choke someone, but I don't know. But in general, he hasn't really used it to a level that he probably should do if he has got a black belt in jiu-jitsu, because you would imagine if he's able to mix in his obvious ability at sort of like Thai kickboxing style, right? His ability to kick, switch kick, right hook, kicks to the body, he would be really, really dangerous with the addition of jiu-jitsu into his game. But again, sort of suddenly turning that on against Israel Adesanya, the title fight was never going to happen. Most fighters would kind of agree to the idea that, hey, I'm going to do whatever got me to the dance, right? Meaning whatever kind of got me here is what I'm going to continue doing. I'm not going to suddenly change up my game. That can usually be the recipe for disaster. So I'm glad he didn't do that. But god damn it, that was a one-sided fight. Izzy controlled that fight from minute one to the end of basically the end of the fight, when he essentially TKO'd him at the beginning of the second. It started off with a kick to the head, which obviously wobbled Paulo Costa, and then of course he did that really great thing that he did against Robert Whittaker as well, where if you get in really close with him, he has this really weird ability and really clever kind of way, really clever way and ability to generate a lot of power by just simply leaning back and sort of swinging from that position. So when you get really close to him, you think you can hit him, and he's obviously got that really amazing sort of like matrix style where you can kind of lean out and sort of you can miss, especially when you're trying to do some spinning wall kicks, whatever they may be. They might be a bit telegraphed for such a kind of long in the tooth Thai boxing guy, but or Thai kickboxing guy. But he has a really cool ability when he's always in a clinch and someone's trying to get right in his body, kind of get trying to basically as close as they can to hit him. He'll lean back and then kind of throw as many punches as you can. And I guess towards Paulo Costa did the same thing. That one was really clever because he ended up sort of purposely shifting his weight, I think, to the right. Paulo Costa took the opportunity to obviously go for the kick with his right leg to the body. Adesanya anticipated it, grabbed his leg, and just started wading in on him as he's holding his leg. Let go, and then as Paulo Costa was starting to cover up to come forward, he kind of laced him with a couple of hits. He goes down, he follows him to the ground, and of course, good night, sweetheart. And then towards the end, he does a little bit of a dry hump in order to kind of take the piss. But wow, what a dominant victory from probably one of the best middleweights that I've seen in a long time, especially in the UFC. Amazing fighter. Just definitely box office, definitely someone that you would pay to watch, especially when you consider his style, his approach, and his overall confidence. And just again, as small as he looked against Paulo in the beginning of the fight, he grew as the fight went on. I'm not sure if that was just me. I did start the fight thinking, wow, man, Paulo Costa looks like an animal compared. It looks like Yoel Romero compared to Izzy. But then once the fight started to progress and he started to get confident, I don't know why, for some reason, Paulo Costa started to shrink. And Izzy started to get bigger, longer. You know what I mean? And that's the thing I think people don't realize. Like, Izzy isn't like Neil Magny, or even Neil Magny too. I think these people, when you see him in real life, it's a whole different game. People can talk a big game about them being skinny in comparison. It's like when you get a regular bodybuilding guy standing next to one of those massive powerlifters, right? They all look small. But I think small is relative, and I think, again, in the UFC, it's never really about, I'd imagine in most martial arts, it's never really about the muscles, right? The muscles are just simply aesthetic. It's more about whatever that kind of torso strength is on the inside, right? That kind of, that toughness that you need that doesn't really maybe exhibit itself in pecs and biceps and stuff. But yeah, again, great performance from Israel Adesanya. Holds a belt. Now supposedly he's waiting for the winner of Whittaker v Cannonier. Of course, if it's Cannonier, then that would be an interesting fight. If it's Whittaker, I don't think it's going to end up any other different way than it had done previously. But let's see what happens. The middleweight is a very interesting division. Loads of interesting fighters. They're ready to go and chomping at the bit. Chomping at the bit to